Venezuela, that's cool. And if you're a teacher, and if you teach at secondary school or primary school, that would be great. Okay. Oh, I can hear some of you. I have to mute you, I think, actually. Sorry about that. I just have to figure out how this works. Okay, I think now this is my mic that's muted here. If you could please, what I'll do here is that you can interact with each other down in the chat box here, and then I'll focus on my presentation, and then in the end of the presentation there'll be plenty of time for questions and things like that. I look like okay. Well, it looks okay here. Oh, in India as well. This is truly a global lecture. That's cool. But let's. I think we should get a teaching student. That's good. In Cincinnati, Ohio. Excellent. Thanks all for coming. Let's get started here. This lecture is on formative feedback strategies in digital marketing. But before I start talking about that, I would like to say a few words about why I'm a teacher. Because this is something that I'm very much passionate about. I truly believe that we have one of the most important and rewarding jobs in the world. And the chances that we have to actually impact students at a critical phase in their lives is just great. I mean, every day we can influence these people and give them a better view of their own lives and teach them something. But there are things that are not so great about being a teacher, and those things are extremely time consuming, and quite often they're also very unproductive. Yeah, we build society. I like that one. Thanks, Pablo. It's true, isn't it? That's what we do. We build society. We build the future. But definitely there are some things that all teachers seem to dislike, and that includes me. The first thing that I find extremely exhausting actually is when you get a new group of students and you have to let me see how there's a pointer somewhere, and you have to test your students' language proficiency levels. That's a tedious task, and that's something that we address at LangCorr. Also, the idea that we have to construct groups all the time and make them efficient is something that I spend hours on that every month. I would spend hours doing that. So we created a program that addresses that. Finally, the big issue here, which is also the issue for today, is marking papers. And marking papers is something that we all do every single week, and the question is how to make it efficient. So today's focus here will be on the feedback strategies and some simple digital tools that can improve the way that we do things. Secondly, I'll be talking about the time-consuming nature of written feedback and our work-life balance, because that's really important, because we work a lot. Teachers tend to work all the time, basically. What I've done here is I found a survey from Britain, but it's quite. This is something that happens all over the world. This is from last year, which says that a primary classroom teacher actually spend almost 60 hours every week working. And then the secondary classroom teachers, they are following close behind at almost 56 hours every week. This is in the UK, and but this is quite representative actually, because I'm speaking with teachers from Holland and from Denmark and the US, and this is quite representative. This is a realistic picture of our lives actually. We spend that many hours working, and if you look at how much time is spent marking papers, then we are close to 10 hours every week. 10 hours every week. That's what we do. We mark papers for 10 hours every week. It's amazing, isn't it? And scary as well. Actually, I would like to ask you a question about how many hours you spend marking papers every day. And what I've done is I've created a poll here. I'll see if I I think if I can manage to set it up for you, because I would like to know how much time you spend marking papers here. So if I publish this poll, it should work, shouldn't it? Okay, here you go. So, can you see the poll? I can only see the options actually, but I can see it afterwards when I share the results here. Okay, great, perfect. So, well, you let me see when we can end the poll here. Option two is the winner, I think. Let's stop the poll and poll here and see what the results are like. We'll share the results. No, I just deleted it. Sorry about that. Well, at least I can conclude when I'm retired. That's good. I like that. I'm waiting for that.
We did it twice. We did it twice in another class. It's really fun doing it again because sometimes people change their minds. So can you do it again?
Yeah, I'll do it again. I'll definitely do it again. I'll just publish this poll, and this time I'll try not to delete it. Oh my God, that's quite scary, isn't it? I mean, look at how many of you actually correct papers more than 10 hours every week. That is pretty scary. One thing is a survey, another thing is when you see it in action, actually. So, have you all done it? I voted twice too, perfect. In option 6 or what? I think I'll try to say view poll here, and then see. No, this is, I'll end the poll. Is that correct, Nella? Nelly, sorry.
No, that's okay. You don't end it. You, I think there's an option there to publish it.
I think it says share results.
Exactly, that's it.
Okay, I'll try that.
Yeah.
So then I should be able to see some. I can't see anything. Can you see it? Can you see the result? Well, anyway, what I just saw based on the things that you voted here, then it is actually quite representative, isn't it? When you look at that British survey, and it makes it all the more interesting to find out whether we can do things more efficiently. Look, yeah, but I can't find the results, Nelly. I'm sorry about that. It's just, it says here I can hide the results and I can end the poll.
No, other people got it.
Maybe you can help.
Yeah, I noticed Melissa. Melissa, can you share what you saw? Because I also missed it, I think. Oh, not you? Somebody saw it. Oh, it's loading. All right, we'll take care of that later if there's some technical things here.
Yeah, well, I'll just, what I'll do is I'll end the poll, yeah?
What did you notice, Andreas? Can you share with us what you saw there?
Well,
oh, there, we've got the results. Melissa says option 6 is 12. There, you've got the results there in the chat box, if you can see that, Andrea.
Okay, so 1 to 3 hours every week is 27%, and option 6, so that would be around 12%. Okay, yeah. But definitely, let's just, I mean, I think I can reach the conclusion that, I mean, we spent a lot of time doing it. Can we agree on that? 12% spent more than 12 hours. I mean, that's a lot, isn't it? Well, anyway, I'll end the poll here, and what I'll say is that I think we can. Well, I would like to actually see the results myself here so that I can actually conclude something. But let's proceed. Okay. I think what we can conclude is that we definitely work more than normal people. I mean, we work well above sort of what I call an average work week, and we spend a lot of time marking papers. And the question is that when we work that much, we have to make the most of this time here. And if we could even reduce the time that we spend doing it, that would be awesome, wouldn't it? An average work week Yeah, what is that? Depends on where you're from, doesn't it? So if you're in Denmark, it's 37.5 hours. And if you're in the US, I suppose it's around 42 hours, isn't it? No, some of you might know more about that than I do. But it is at least 60 hours is way beyond, isn't it? Ah, you've been trying. Okay, good. Paper is less, yeah. So now we're just talking about marking. Oh, so that would be everything. That would include everything. When we talk about the average work week, because and then you would have to sort of include the hours that you mark papers in that. But the question, as I said, is when we spend that many hours doing it, then how can we sort of optimize the results that we get from it, and can we reduce the time that we spend doing it without compromising with the work that we're actually doing? 40 hours a week, yeah. Okay, yeah. So again, we definitely work a lot. Well, let's proceed. So today I'm going to show you a few things here. I'm going to show you how I used to mark papers before I founded LangCorr. Then I'm going to talk about some various feedback strategies. I'm going to show you a digital tool, and then finally we'll have time for questions. But let me show you how I used to mark papers, and this is pretty much what it looked like. I spent endless hours doing this, marking papers, and if you look at this this sheet here that I handed back to students, this is what it looked like. It was this sort of completely unholy mix of error codes and utter chaos. Oh, thanks. Am I speaking too fast, Nelly? Yeah, this is a bad student. Of course, I'm using a hyperbole. It wasn't that bad. Okay, great, thanks. So this is definitely. We can all agree that this is not productive, is it? I mean, if a student receives that, then I mean, most likely they won't understand a thing. And I've spent a lot of time doing it. And this is definitely not productive. I'll show you in a minute what's more productive than that. Thanks, Nimola. The second thing that I started doing was that I started using systematic error codes, and this is like a typical sheet here that you could give your student and say, I'm marking papers, correcting papers according to this here. This again, I've actually found the same. I ended at the same conclusion that this is not productive either, because if you look at, let's see, there's an arrow here. I've put an arrow here next to verb tense, and if you are let's say a student that's not so strong, and you see there's an error code saying VT, and you say, well, the student will just say, well, what can I do with that? I mean, I don't even know what a verb is. How can I actually improve because I see a code saying VT? This is just too general. I mean, you need more elaborate explanations if you want to improve based on feedback. Then we got this cartoon here, which is I think it's hilarious, but also tragic at the same time. It's not that clear, so I'm just going to read it to you. On the board it says English interrogative constructions, and then we've got the teacher saying the auxiliary verb which normally appears after the subject must move to sentence initial position, and we've got the student saying what's a verb. So again, this just goes to show that if you use systematic error codes, they're way too general. They're not elaborate enough. I love peer editing. I'm going to talk about that in later in this session as well. And we're going to and the student proficiency is really important, because let's say if you have a very, very good student, it's very likely that they won't make that mistake, so they don't need the code. But all the people who actually make a simple mistake like a Concord error or something else, they will not understand it if you write SP or yeah. What is an error? Yeah, that's a good question. But definitely, so I arrived at the conclusion that systematic error codes is not the way to go if you want to improve your students or influence your students' future behavior when it comes to writing. So first of all, learning. There's no learning. There's hardly any progression, and we're not affecting future behavior. And if you're lucky, you get a few results, but very, very few results based on this. And this is something that I think all teachers have seen. And if you look at I've put a bin here with a lot of paper in it. And the reason is actually this is what happened. This is what I used to see every time I handed back papers, because I would hand back the papers in the classroom, and when the students left, half the papers would still be lying on the tables, but the student wouldn't be there anymore. So finally I could pick them up and say, well, I spent half an hour on that one, I spent 40 minutes on that one, and it was just a waste of time for everybody. Wasted trees, I like that. Yeah, I should have put a tree there, burning or something. Yeah. So we have sort of we have the basic idea is that focused formative evaluation is the solution to this problem. And formative evaluation is basically, as I put a quote here from Valerie Shute, saying that information communicated to the learner that is intended to modify his or her thinking or behavior for the purpose of improving learning. That's the idea behind formative evaluation. The question is how we do this, because this is a good objective to have to aim for, but how do we actually ensure that our students use the feedback that we give? And the question is then, what kind of feedback can facilitate this? And this is what I'm going to show you in a minute. I'm going to show you the extremes here. First of all, we've got the nativistic theory. This is Chomsky, where language is sort of built into people from scratch. That it's an innate faculty. So we shouldn't really correct anything. Just make sure that everybody speaks, writes, listens, reads a lot, and if the more they do it, the more they'll learn, which is definitely true. But I don't think it's enough. We don't believe that it's enough. So the teacher should be sort of this facilitator, making sure that it happens. And this is illustrated by this little guy here saying, "You're doing great." Then we've got the other extreme, which is behaviorism, that language should be trained for a system of reinforcement. So if your students are doing great, point it out. If they are not, then it should also be pointed out. So positive feedback should get some positive response, and negative if they are making any errors, then it should have some negative feedback. But the question is whether we could find a different way to go about it. I can see that there's something with the video here. You can't see me anymore, can you? Yeah, exactly. This is what we are aiming for actually from Anneli, or not Teresa. This is what we are aiming for here, is that this is the LangCorr approach here, is that feedback should always be positive and constructive, and it should be given with regard to the individuals partaking in the exchange here. Can you see me, or I mean my audio video thing has frozen, so you can see,
because there are people from different parts of the world. WizIQ needs to equalize so that everybody gets. So sometimes it's better to turn it off.
Okay, so I'll just let it be. It's just but okay. Well, it's still blurry, but the sound is fine. Oh, okay, that's good. I definitely agree that negative feedback is such a bad thing, because it demotivates your students to an extent where it's not feasible anymore. So, and you're just taking the confidence away from your students. So this is why it should always be positive. So we see feedback as a springboard, and the basic assumption is one that we share with Mr. Sadler from I think he's from Griffith University, and his idea is that the learner needs the feedback, the learner receives the feedback, and he has time to use it, and the learner is willing and able to use the feedback. This is our basic assumption, which is a really positive assumption, but also an assumption that says that people should actually get feedback, because they can learn from that and they can improve based on feedback. So they should use it to actively, proactively improve their performance. And we believe that it should be focused, elaborate, and precise. And also that the students have to use the feedback in order to correct and rewrite their own text. Because if they're not working with your corrections, they're not going to learn it. And finally, another important approach here is that there should be multiple approaches. There should be comments, you should give them movies, you should give them exercises, games, all kinds of things that target their exact problems. That's what's really, really important, because so that they approach their problematic areas from various angles. This is what makes them actually remember the things that they're learning about. The typical way that Danish scholars they put the feedback categories. They put them into boxes here. There are 4 boxes. The idea here is that one kind of feedback is just problem identifying, and this could be as simple as just underlining an error, and then you expect that your students can actually react on that. And you can combine all these categories here. Then you've got the inquisitive feedback category, where you try to engage your students in a communication process about their errors, and actually try to engage them and see if they can't learn from that. Then we've got the instructive categories, where you actually say, well, you've got an error here, and you have to do this and this and this to correct it. That's the instructive category. Finally, we've got the qualifying category, which deals with the idea that the feedback should actually modify future behavior and make the student sort of reflect on the topic. And this could be through movies, games, exercises, and things like that. Well, is there something here? 1 second. Continue anyways. Yeah, 1 second. There you go. And the question is whether it's possible, because it's clear to everybody that if you've got inquisitive, instructive, and qualifying feedback, that will take a long time to write down. If you have to write down a sentence talking about this is your error and you have to do this and this and this to correct it, that will take you a long time to write down. Also, if you want to find appropriate exercises and movies and games that address that exact problem, that will also take time to find. And if you do any shortcuts, then we're back to where we started, that the outcome is at best limited. And the question is whether it's not just a waste of time, and then just go with the nativistic theory instead, and just say, well, then spend your time ensuring that your students actually speak and write and read and so on. And when this takes such a long time, then the question is, when you have a work-life balance that is already strained to the limit, how can we do this? How can we accomplish this? And first of all, the first option, which is the first solution, is to control the market. I know that all teachers, and I think you can all recognize what I'm saying here, is that when you see an error, it's just like your fingers are itching. You definitely want to correct everything that you see. I mean, you want to help the students, and it annoys you as a teacher to see all those mistakes. Well, I've been teaching them about these kinds of mistakes for a long time, and they're still doing it. So I want to address that every single time. But you just have to focus that, to acknowledge that teachers are the centers of feedback, they can handle all the things that they want to handle. They can handle all sorts of parameters when they mark papers. They can deal with adverbs, they can deal with prepositions, they can deal with anything, spelling errors. But the students, your receivers, they can only handle a limited number of parameters at a time. So if you give them everything, then they'll just basically they'll give up because they can't really comprehend all that. So you need to make sure that your feedback is focused. One way of doing it, one thing that we do at my high school is that we teach the students about a certain topic, and then we say, well, this time we're going to focus on only that. So if you make spelling errors, we won't correct it. But if you make errors when it comes to adjectives and adverbs, we're going to correct that. Second, another thing that you could do, which is something that I would definitely recommend you to do, is using digital marking. Because the fact of the matter is that students, they make the same mistakes over and over again. And this is what we've been looking at. What we did was that we analyzed thousands of papers. And we actually came to the conclusion that almost all their errors can be addressed by very, very few comments, as little as 200 comments. So the solution here, if you want to give elaborate feedback that can actually help your students, is that you use predefined comments, because they are the key to making this task manageable, and that you can actually reduce the time that you spend marking. Because if all you have to do is press a button, then it doesn't take you that long time to do it. And if you're focused at the same time, then you can save a lot of time. I'm sorry, I haven't been able to look at the chat room for a while, but there'll be time for questions afterwards. And this is what the program that I told you that I will say a little bit about, Language Corrector. This is what it does. You can see up here that this is a toolbar that places itself in Microsoft Word. And all the comments that I talked about before, we've put those in categories. So we've got everything dealing with verb tenses. We put that here, and prepositions here, genitives here, so that you can easily find each comment. And then the users, they can add and modify and delete the predefined comments, and you can actually track your students' progression. So you can give them elaborate feedback, but you can also track that progression from one paper to the next paper. And the users, you can also add reports and grades, exercises, movies and games. Everything is in the program. And the users also have access to online resources. So you can see here there's a dictionary function up here, and a web function here that you can use. I'm going to show you that in a minute. So the main benefits that you sort of achieve by doing this, first of all, your students get better, more elaborate feedback, something that they can actually use. Furthermore, teacher can actually save about 30% of the time that they spend marking. And if we go along with the assumption that let's say if teachers spend around, let's say between 5 and 12 hours a week marking papers, I mean, then we're talking about more than 100 hours every year that you can actually that you can save here based on using digital marking. So you get better feedback and you can save a lot of time. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to show you a very short demonstration of the program, and then I hope that you like it, and I hope that you would like to try to use it. Let me just, how do I copy this? Oh, there we go. And then I have to play it here.
Welcome.
Okay, this is Spencer, one of my friends from Iowa, who has done this. I'll show it to you. Can you see it?
Welcome to LangCorr. Welcome to LangCorr. Welcome to LangCorr. Welcome to.
What's going on?
Welcome to LangCorr. This video will explain